What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Point After with Mitch Kaiser. I'm your host, Mitch Kaiser, and I am joined now by Eric Lilly from Chatterbox Sports, specifically Chatterbox Bearcats, to dive into my alma mater later in the episode, the Cincinnati Bearcats. First, we're going to go over the semifinal games and preview those two games that we got coming up this week on Thursday and Friday. But first, Eric, how you doing, man? Welcome in.
Doing great. Football is almost over, though, Mitch. It's starting to hit me. We're at that time where you just you're happy the games are here, but you're also like, wow, it's over after this.
We know it's the end. It is a sad time of year. We'll be in the dog days then of winter. So, but then we got UC basketball to cheer up our spirits, right? You know, we always have that for us.
Bingo.
Right?
Might have a coaching surge coming up to distract us for a couple weeks.
All good, yeah, always fun stuff in Clifton at University of Cincinnati. But all right, Eric, thanks for joining me today. We're going to dive into the two semifinal games first. But thoughts on the season as a whole, and before we get into the semifinal games, thoughts on Cincinnati and then just this entire college football season. Any bowl games you specifically enjoyed most this year?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty interesting season with how the ACC and Big 12 dynamic ended up. I cover the Big 12 for CFBDepth.com, so I update depth charts and injuries and stuff, so I'm always plugged in on that. And I just thought Texas Tech, just being that clearly dominant team, to then not score in the playoff was kind of a bad look for the league and like the sport going forward. Yeah, and like Arizona State almost did the job last year, so it's like we're kind of excited to see if the Texas Tech could change the narrative a little. And that offense just was not it was fool's gold this year. We'll say that. And then UC, what a tease. They had us at 7-1. It felt good. I saw Bud Elliott tweeted a playoff thing, and we were in it. And I was like, oh, baby, we're back. And then we lose every game. So tough spot.
2 years in a row that's happened.
2 years in a row. November has not been a good month for the Bearcats. And
no win November, 2 years.
Yeah, just looking at bowl games. Like I've watched a couple this year. Haven't been really busy at work, so not watched as many bowl games as I'd like. But my favorite one by far was USC TCU. I don't know if you caught that one. It went to overtime at the end. I was actually very mad at Sonny Dykes for not trying to end it in the fourth quarter.
I picked USC in my bowl game mania, and they ended up losing in overtime, right?
Yeah, and you got
the new
USC should have won the game.
TCU Seals, right?
Yeah, Seals was the backup. He started. USC had no business losing this game. TCU just beat them in the fourth quarter and overtime. It was a good game, though.
I think I fell asleep and checked that when I woke up and was
a late one.
Very confused at how they lost that game because, they had no business. The Trojans did. And
I just like the jerseys. I like both teams kind of, like just loosely. And
Purple Red's
it was a fun one to watch.
On the field.
Beautiful.
Always good. Yeah. And then we got the AutoZone Liberty Bowl a couple days ago. Defeat at the hands of the Navy midshipmen.
My least favorite bowl.
35-13. Yeah. Whatever bowl Cincinnati's in is my least favorite bowl game every year. So that's just how it's been.
And then the weather, you're playing the triple option. It was just bad.
Navy presents a tough case for teams, man. Any opposing team going in a bowl game against them, you do not know what's coming if you've not played them before. So they can beat you up in the trenches, man.
Yeah, but it's just an awkward way to play football, especially when every week you're playing Power 4 team, and then you hop in and it's the Navy, and they have height limitations. Yeah. They do different things in the trenches that you probably don't like if you're a big guy that's used to playing other big guys. So, yeah, didn't really learn anything in the bowl game, and just made the vibes even worse.
Definitely, yeah, not a great way to end the year, finishing 7-6. Texas Tech, on the other hand, also kind of disappointed us and let the Big 12 down. Hand up, that was my national champion in my bracket pool. I made a couple weeks ago. I picked Texas Tech to win the bracket pool. They were kind of the unknown to me, man. They were the unknown. They had the best defense in America. I believed in that team, and I thought their run game had enough to get it going with the 2-horse back, and just could not get anything outside of legitimately one carry for Oregon that broke for 50 yards. That was the only explosive play they had all game. The next farthest run, I believe, was 9 yards. So Oregon absolutely shut them down. Like you said, kind of put the Big 12 in a bad spot going into next season. And we also lost Brendan Sorsby. So we'll get into that later after the Cincinnati portal talk we do. But right now, Eric, I want to talk about these 2 semifinal games we got coming up this week. Thursday night, we got Miami Hurricanes, number 10, taking on number 6 Ole Miss Rebels. And Friday night game is the number 5, the Big Ten rematch from an October game. Number 5 Oregon Ducks taking on the number 1 ranked Indiana Hoosiers. Which of these games are you looking forward to most?
I'm going to say Miami Ole Miss just because I've already seen the other one. I'm not a huge fan of all the replays we're going to see, but more college football is good in my book. So
we have got a lot of rematches this playoff, like more than ever. Georgia, Ole Miss, Tulane, Ole Miss. This is Ole Miss's first new opponent, actually. So.
Oh wow, and okay, and they haven't played Oregon or Indiana. Okay, that would have been funny if they somehow did 4 in a row.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that game, just because, like the stuff that Miami did against Ohio State that surprised everybody. Just we know they're good in the trenches. We know they're awesome in the trenches. We know Cristobal, like his flaws. We know his flaws, but I think his strength is knowing how to build a team that has a really high floor, like physically. Like they know they can compete with the big boys no matter what. And the thing I'm watching for in that game personally is that the Ole Miss run defense. I think Miami's really going to try to run it on them, even though they're more of a passing team. I think we're going to see a little change here. That's my big call for this game. Is I think Miami tries to go run first and slow the game down.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point against that front 7 for Ole Miss, which is they have a solid pass rush, but it's by no means elite. Definitely not one of the top defensive lines compared to Ohio State, who Miami just took care of. So yeah, let's get into that game. So Miami coming off a 10-point win against Ohio State after beating Texas A&M down at Kyle Field 10-3, and the most exciting 10-3 game you'll ever watch. Yeah, like you said, they've got the dudes in the trenches. I mean, we don't need to talk anymore about Ruben Bain or Mesidor. We know how elite they are on the outside. Ole Miss's strength on the O-line is their tackles. The 2 tackles on the outside, Diego Pounds and Jaden Williams, I believe they're in the 70s for PFF grades and blocking. They're going to have to be on their A games to really, manage those 2 on the outside. The interior O-line for Ole Miss is what I'm worried about here. I'm worried about them running the ball with Q and Lacey, who just announced, by the way, has signed a deal to return to Ole Miss, second in the nation in rushing touchdowns with 23, I believe. But anyway, Lacey's going to have to be a factor in the run game, and the interior O-line that is not good for Ole Miss, they're going to have to really be on their A game. Only a 76 pass blocking grade for Ole Miss versus a 92 pass rushing grade for Miami on the other side.
It seems like advantage Canes to me.
Big advantage, yeah. Big advantage. Miami is actually like you said, you brought up Mark Fletcher in the run game. He was critical against Ohio State on early downs, getting them away from 3rd and long. I thought he really, honestly, was their best offensive player. Beck was the game manager, which we'll talk about the quarterbacks here in a second. Beck has won so many football games. We know his record as a starter. We know how experienced he is. He's not going to put the ball in harm's way as much. He's not going to, throw a bunch of turnovers. He's more going to, take what the defense gives him, the short throws on 3rd downs. But Mark Fletcher will be key for that. Miami is the 15th best run-blocking team in the nation versus Ole Miss, who I believe, I just listened to our guy Max Chadwick, I believe Max said Ole Miss is like the 80th best run blocking team, and they are only averaging 1.5 yards before contact for each run. That's not the recipe for success against this Miami front seven.
Yeah, and in Ole Miss, in Miami's run game for the whole season, their success rate's 79th in the country. Like, they're not a run-first team. Fletcher is a really good back. We all know that. But they haven't been and they're in the ACC. They have a huge talent gap in a lot of these games, and they haven't been just running it down people's throats. So I do think in playoff games like this, I mean, we saw how Michigan won the title with J.J. McCarthy being the game manager. It's a very viable way to win a title if you are talented everywhere else. And they kind of look like that team right now to me. To get there, it'll be a different conversation based on if it's Oregon or Indiana, though.
That's a really good point, actually. I haven't thought of that. That's a good comp. Carson Beck is kind of playing that point guard role that McCarthy was for Michigan, where he's got the loaded offensive linemen with Mawanoa and the NFL talents everywhere. You've got the weapons on the outside in C.J. Daniels and Malachi Tony, who I thought were big against Ohio State. And then you've got the big, strong back in Mark Fletcher. That's a great comp, actually. On the other side, the other quarterback, now let's get into him. He's not so much a game manager. He's a legend. Trinidad Chambliss, that is. This guy is just special, man. I mean, we have not given him enough respect on the season. I think I didn't want to believe that he could lead Ole Miss to a national championship a month ago, and now I don't have any doubts about him. It's the rest of the supporting cast, if they can keep up with Chambliss and really help him enough, and if the O-line can withstand Miami's pass rush enough to give him enough time back there, because that was how he beat Georgia, right? I mean, making plays in the backfield, running around, extending plays with his legs, throwing on the run, delivering dimes up the middle, and just like the Mahomes pop pass on that 3rd and long. So Chambliss is the opposite of the game manager in Beck. What have you seen from him that's impressed you so far?
I think something you said at the beginning there reminded me of how I felt about Chambliss. Like, I didn't take Ole Miss seriously to start the season because it kind of felt like last year was their best chance, if that makes sense. And
my God, yeah.
It fell apart, right?
Yeah.
And then this year, the start of the season, he started really hot. And then they lost to Georgia. And, right when I was starting to buy into him, they lose to Georgia. And I'm like, well, they're going to Oklahoma next. They're probably about to start this unraveling. And he ramped it up. He's been great. He's erratic. He's fun. He's everything that you want in a college football QB as a neutral, I think. Like, this is like must-see TV type stuff. And great for him that he, in my opinion, best game of his career in the playoff game. It's like that's when you want – but that's when you have a guy like this, you might get that. You also might get the exact opposite if he faces a team like Indiana. You could see Indiana just terrorizing this guy. But you could – the thing as an Ole Miss fan going into every game is like, we have a chance because we have Trinidad. We got a shot here. And I'm just excited to see, one more playoff game from him at least. And also just I love the angle of Lane leaving and like these guys deciding to stay because they won. They're signing extensions. They're Golding's
Charlie
coaching.
Weiss, quick note on that, staying around as the OC for this game. I thought that was a big key.
Yep, that's nice. And just a little talking point that I don't see mentioned a lot is like in going forward in the portal and the playoff, it's like winning in the playoff. Coaches complain about it because they can't recruit, they can't do this and that. It helps with player retention. These guys they're signing right now because they're a part of a playoff run, something
Why
special.
Would you leave?
Why would you leave during this? So there's your advantage, guys. Lock down your guys while you're on the run, and just think it's a really cool story between Trinidad and Golding being the coach. And I think I just talked myself into rooting for Ole Miss.
It's hard to root against them, man. I'll say that. It's hard to root against Chambliss. He is electric out there. He is so fun to watch. I said it on my last show, but the performance he gave against Georgia was up there with the Joe Burrows versus Oklahoma and the Trevor Lawrence versus the Ohio State and the Fields in that game too. Fields versus Clemson. So like that was an all-time college football playoff performance by Trinidad Chambliss that you don't see happen very often. So I believe he was like a 90 PFF grade, 362 yards with 2 touchdowns, and just the fourth quarter leading them with 20 points, and just the amount of heroic plays he made on the run in that game, play after play, was just remarkable. I can't say enough about him. Over 4,000 total yards on the season, 29 total touchdowns, 66 completion percentage. I truly think the X factor in this game for Miami is containing Chambliss in the pocket. You have to contain him in the pocket. You can't let him get outside, extend plays with his legs. You can't let him run the football. That was what ultimately killed Georgia in the fourth quarter. Not necessarily him running the football and taking off, but him just extending plays in the backfield with his legs, getting receivers open, leading them open downfield. And then he only had 14 rushing yards. I expect that number to go up against Miami unless they can contain him in the pocket, which what better guys to do that than Bain and Mesidor. But, no, I'm with you. Chambliss has won me over. I know he just announced that if the NCAA approves him, he will come back to Ole Miss, which I love. Like you said, I love that he's staying at that program. But is this guy an NFL quarterback? I mean, do we have to start talking about him in a different light, like in the draft? Is he like – I know Dalton compared him to Russell Wilson. Is he like a Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray type of quarterback who just like, no matter the size, just gets guys open, makes the right throw, makes the right read, extends with his legs, and just plays above his size?
Here's my question for you. If you were Trinidad Chambliss's agent, this upcoming draft here, like, it looks decent to jump in, right? Like, I know he wants to come back to Ole Miss and he's getting paid a lot of money, but is this not an interesting person who could really show off in the combine and stock could rise? Like that guy that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, possibly? 100%. No, I think coaches are going to fall in love with him right away. I mean, I think that's clear and obvious. You know, we saw Kiffin do it, Goldingez, and now just he makes fans fall in love with him. Like you said, like you want to root for this guy, you want to play for this guy, and you want to play with this guy. And I think I'll say this on the draft. I don't want to speculate. I think Ole Miss fans probably would not want to hear about that conversation right now. But like, if he were to come out in this draft and take advantage of a lower QB class where there's not as many guys jumping in, he would be my fourth quarterback prospect.
Right now.
I can't think of a fourth guy above him. I'd have Dante Moore, Fernando Mendoza, and Ty Simpson as my top 3, and then I would have Chambliss fourth. So, and I don't think that's a crazy take right now, given how he's playing.
Yeah, that's something they should be thinking about, especially if the waiver thing drags out. The NCAA, it's never clear.
Right.
Very stressful. The deadlines are coming up. Yeah, so it'll be interesting what happens with that.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. But first, I don't want to talk about Chambliss's future. Let's talk about the present. Who are you picking to win this game Thursday night? And I'll give you mine.
I'm going to stick with Miami, I think. I'm shooting down my Cinderella story. I think I'm going Hurricanes.
You told me Ole Miss before.
I'm going Miami 2017.
2017, I like it. I am also taking Miami in this one. I think their D-line makes just enough plays. I think they contain Chambliss just enough. I do think he will get outside the pocket and make some plays. I don't think you can shut him down completely. But I also think we have yet to see Beck's best game in the playoffs. And I don't mean that like he's been bad. I think he's been fine. He's done exactly what they needed him to. But his experience, I still think we're waiting on his best game where we see like 250 passing yards or so. This is actually the worst rated defense he's played in the playoffs compared to A&M and Ohio State, like by a pretty decent margin on paper. Again, I don't want to discredit Ole Miss. They've done a lot of good things. I think they got some decent pass rushers, decent defensive linemen like Xavier Harris, Will Eccles. And I expect them to step up in this game against Miami's O-line. The trenches for Miami are better than what Georgia had on paper. Miami has the best pass rush in college football. That's no secret anymore. Georgia had a non-existent pass rush all season. Nobody really talked about that in the SEC, but Georgia's pass rush was not existent. That was no factor against Ole Miss. That is going to be a factor in this one. That's ultimately why I'm taking Miami. I've got a little higher score than you do, though. I've got 30-27. So I think the Hurricanes, this is where they score their most points. I think this is where Beck has his best game and connects with guys like Tony and Daniels on the outside. And I think Ole Miss's defense is ultimately what will be the Achilles heel in this game. And I think Miami scores just enough to take them down 30-27. But close one. It's going to be a close one. I do think we'll see a good amount of points on the board, but I think Miami's defense will contain Chambliss just enough to win.
I thought your point about Beck was interesting, and like just think Miami in December they played A&M, they played Ohio State. Those are two really good defenses, and Ole Miss is just that level below A&M probably, right? Like maybe two levels below. It's a good defense, but it's not special. So yeah. Maybe Beck 250 plus here. Because it hasn't been – I don't even think he hit 150. Did he?
No, I believe he's got –
He did 138 and
yeah, I was going to say, I believe
A&M.
he's got 103 and 138. So, yeah, no, that right there, I think we're going to see Beck's best game against on paper, the worst-rated defense that he's faced out of the three playoff teams. When Ole Miss's offense is not going to be the question here. I think Ole Miss's offense will be able to put points on the board. They're actually second in the NCAA in yards, which I did not realize, which is a crazy thing. But, like, they're lower in points. So I thought that was interesting, too. They're like 20th in points, but second in yards. So they're leaving some points on the board, I would say. You can't do that against this Miami defense. Their secondary is elite, too. We saw Keontae Scott's pick six against Ohio State. They shut down Carnell Tate last week. That was wild right there. But yeah, I've got the Hurricanes winning 31-28, or excuse me, 30-27, 3-point win. They don't cover the spread though. Spread is 3.5 Miami. Oh. I think Ole Miss covers that +3. Miami wins. So any other notes on that game?
Yeah, I'm on Game on Paper. That's one of my sites I use for researching podcasts and stuff, and noticed when you were talking about Ole Miss's offense that their starting field position is their own 27, which is 83rd in the country, which is a team like that. I think that kind of explains why they get so many yards.
The yards,
weirdly enough, because they run a ton of plays, they get the ball on their own 27, and the reason why they're getting the ball on their own 27 is because their rush defense has been bad, and teams are getting a couple first downs on before they punt.
Right?
Yeah, and the touchdowns and first downs, so they're getting pinned a little. So, yeah, see, if Ole Miss can switch that.
They're getting more possessions than any other team is what it is, because, like you said, they're not forcing punts. They're forcing kickoffs, so they're starting at the 27. The first Georgia game, they didn't force a single punt. Did you know that? That's insane.
Oh, wow.
The October game. Not last week,
okay, yeah.
Last week they forced like 3 punts, and that was the win right there. I mean, forcing Georgia to punt was the trophy right there. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think Ole Miss's defense is ultimately what holds them back in this one, and I think Beck has his best playoff game. So, alrighty. Moving on to the Friday night game between Oregon and Indiana, a rematch from October. Indiana won the first game 30-20. Mendoza threw a pick six, but Moore also threw 2 interceptions. So both QBs struggled against these elite defenses, respectively. There was Oregon failed to reach 100 rushing yards. Thought that was interesting because they've gone well over 100 in almost all of their games this season with Noah Whittingham and their 2 running backs. Indiana gained 326 yards to 267 on Oregon. So believe this was Oregon's lowest yardage total of the season. I'll have to go back and double check, but But yeah, this was a game on paper where the score probably looked closer than the game. And I know that's weird to say about a game that was decided in the fourth quarter, but that pick six was Oregon's only touchdown of the second half. They had one offensive touchdown that whole game. They had 2 field goals. They had 1 missed field goal, and then they had a pick six. So they low-key got shut down by Indiana on defense. Did you tell me if you watched any of that game from October and kind of what you've seen from these two respective defenses?
Yeah, I was loosely watching that game while at work. The TV was on it, so I caught things here and there. And I was always, not always, but last year with Indiana, I kept doing the whole, how is this possible? Like my alarm bells are going off. Like, this is a mirage, right?
Yeah.
And then coming into this season, I was like, oh, they're probably going to win 6 or 7 games, and Indiana's going to be back where they usually are, right? And I still felt that way until the Oregon game. The Oregon game to me was when it all
Oregon.
changed in my head. Yeah. It was like, okay, I got to change what I'm saying about these guys. I got to respect what they're doing. This is one of the craziest stories in sports, like in my life, I think.
Yeah.
Just the 2-year run. It makes no sense by how college football has always been with blue bloods and, talent acquisition going to those teams. Yeah, and it's we go back and forth, like people like me and you, we're just watching like, how is this possible? But I'm done questioning it. I do want to hear more and more about how this is happening. I look forward to the documentary that's coming out in a couple of years, I'm sure, about Cincinnati. So for that game, it just felt like they belonged. Like, that's the thing that mattered to me the most in the Oregon-Indiana game. And the reason it felt like they belonged is because they dominated the game. Like, they if they would have lost that game somehow, it would have been a crime. They put it to them. Oregon had that touchdown that, those
Without
touchdowns
the
that
pick
sometimes
six,
swing games, right? Yeah.
Right. Without the pick six, it might have been 30-13. Could have been the final score.
Yeah.
Because after that pick six, going back to the point of Fernando Mendoza is unflappable, right after that pick six, he led a 75-yard touchdown drive in 9 plays, and then he led like a 12-play game-sealing field goal drive right after they got the ball back. And it was like, boom, right there, he just killed Oregon, just 2 drives. But he also let them back into the game with the pick six prior, so it was like he made up for it. But going all the way back to the point of he's unflappable. He's unshaken. You can't get Mendoza off his game. You can't rattle him. He just is money all the time and just does not make mistakes. And when he does, he makes up for him the very next play.
It's almost like he pisses himself off and he's like, gets better because he messed up. It makes no sense.
It's so fun to watch. I'm all in on him. I love his interviews. I love his personality. I love his leadership. And it's again, I'm done disrespecting Cincinnati and IU. I picked Oregon to beat them. I picked Ohio State to beat them. I picked Alabama to beat them. So we'll make a pick here in a second, but we'll leave it at that for now.
I was going to say, I think I know who it's going to be.
I just want to shout out specifically their offensive line and Pat Coogan, the center. Pat Coogan, a Notre Dame transfer, has been one of the best centers in college football for 4 seasons now, and they earned Offensive Player of the Week in the Rose Bowl. They deserved it, man. They were just dominating Bama's D-line all game. Pat Coogan specifically was just moving bodies left and right. No sacks allowed all season. I believe he's got like an 82 pass blocking grade. So shout out to the Indiana offensive line. They are elite. They run inside zone. They're going to line up and beat you. That's all they're going to do. They like to run inside zone with Roman Hemby and their other running backs who are great, and they were just going to walk up and beat you in the trenches. And that was where I thought Alabama could match up physically, especially without Stephen Daly, who is Indiana's best pass rusher, who's out for the season now. They were not missing him at all. They didn't skip a beat without him. In fact, Michael Kamara, who was their best pass rusher a season ago, had his 2nd sack of the season. We talked about him on my last episode about how he could be the key to their success in winning the national championship. unlocking Michael Kamara, he had 10 sacks this season ago, only 2 in 2025. So if they can unlock him and get him back to his production last season, I mean, that could win them the national title right there, because the pass rush was my biggest question mark for them going into the Bama game, and it was not a question mark at all.
Yeah, and the IU thing, like I picked IU to beat Ohio State in the championship game because I just respect their defense so much, and Haynes, the coordinator, they just have their shit together on defense, and it's so impressive. And to me, a game that's going to be low scoring, a game that's going to be nasty, I'm taking IU to win those games, and that's why I picked them to beat Ohio State, and actually went almost exactly how I thought it would. I should have put more money on it, but I think this is going to be a low scoring game. I don't know. I'm thinking even lower, but
the first one, yeah.
So I just think that's advantage Indiana. But again, when you have a low scoring game, whoever makes the mistake might be the loser. It's just that one mistake could switch it here, and I just really trust Mendoza in that department too.
That's true. I've talked on this show a couple times about pick sixes and how much they fluctuate the game and just change it. And the point I made is if you throw a pick six, you're probably not going to win the game. However, Indiana did win the last game when they did throw a pick six. So imagine if they didn't throw that, it would have looked like a blowout on paper. So that could be their key to just not turning the ball over this time and taking care of business and moving the chains. Oregon's counter, they're going to have to counter it with their interior D-line, specifically Bear Alexander and Amari Washington stepping up in the middle. They were great in the Texas Tech game, allowed nothing on the ground. So if they can do that again, Dan Lanning's adjustments after the 34-point outing to James Madison, whatever he said worked to his guys because they were just monsters all game, which quick note about Mendoza's pick six in that game. I thought this was interesting. So that pick six he threw was to Brandon Finney Jr., true freshman cornerback. That's the same guy who had the 2 interceptions last week for Oregon. So keep that guy's name circled. If you're starting your 2028 draft big board, keep that guy, put that guy as CB1 right now, Brandon Finney Jr. I don't know how many interceptions he has total on the season, but that's 3 right there. So, all right, specifically on the quarterbacks now, that was Mendoza's worst game of the season. To put that into perspective, he had a 51 passing grade, 1 sack, and 1 interception, which was the pick six. That was also Dante Moore's worst game of the season, where he was the only game all season he's had a PFF grade below 60. He had 6 sacks in that game and turned the ball over 3 times. The question is, how will he do against this defense the second time? And do you think this is the battle for QB1 in the 2026 NFL draft?
Yeah, it is. Just like the Big Ten championship was the battle for the Heisman. It's Mendoza keeps finding himself in these games.
The game's within a game.
Yeah, the draft is so far away that I don't think if one outperforms the other that's why they got drafted first. But I do think in terms of discourse and casual fans who NFL fans who don't watch college football until this point, this is when they're going to make their minds up. This is the moment for Mendoza
based on
and
one
more.
Throw alone.
And yeah, seriously. So that makes it the stakes higher than they are for casual fans to watch games like this. There's a lot of talking points, even coaching. It's like you'll hear some people think Dan Lanning's the best coach in the country. Some people think Ryan Day is. Some people think Cignetti is. And then you've got the Kirby Smarters out there too. So there's so many storylines with this one past the numbers that we love to talk about here. But I think both QBs are going to kind of have similar games as last time, but with fewer mistakes. I think both teams are going to play really safe on offense here and try to let their defense win the game. And I really want to see that big moment, though. I'm chasing it as a fan. Like the Mendoza moment against the
QB1 moment.
Man. Yeah, give me that QB1 moment.
The Heisman moment was that third down, that final throw against Ohio State. That was the third down saving play. Mm-hmm. That play won the Heisman. I'm with you. Will we have a QB1 moment in this game where one solidifies himself
Maybe.
as that dude?
Give it to me.
Who knows? We'll see. Like I said, these are the two consensus quarterbacks in the draft right now: Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore. Moore is 1 year younger than Mendoza, which I do think is important. I'm a big believer in the age factor of quarterbacks, and I think getting that extra year of development can be huge. The raw box score numbers are pretty close, man. I mean, you look at both 72 completion percentage. They both sit around 3,200 passing yards. Both are about 9 yards per throw, which is just remarkable numbers. The one area Mendoza is trumping more is the touchdowns here because his legs. Mendoza has 42 total touchdowns compared to Moore's 30. Mendoza has picked up quite a bit with his legs this year, and I do think that's what has set him apart from Dante Moore. Is Moore doesn't like to run as much. Mendoza's not scared and will take off on third down to pick up the first down if he has to. So that is the difference maker for me right now. But I think I would give Moore a slight edge in terms of drafting just based on the age factor alone. But, yeah, like you said, this game could affect a lot of people's draft boards based on that alone. And if they see one throw they don't like, they might move the other above. So could come down to that. However, Mendoza, man, he is coming off his best performance of the season, his two best performances of the season in back-to-back games against Ohio State and Alabama. I mean, how many quarterbacks can you say that about who have their best games against Ohio State and Alabama?
None. I think if he finishes the season playing well and they win it all, I kind of think he's number one. I don't know.
Could be, yeah.
I personally, you have Moore one right now. I have Mendoza one, and it's a weird reason. I know it's very dangerous for fans to do this.
Let's
try
hear
to
it.
analyze soft factors and personalities and leadership and stuff, but he's just so weird to me. The way he speaks, the way he acts, and that I've in my head labeled him as like some sort of unicorn, like special quarterback in like a weird way. Like I think they love him. I think the group loves him. I think he knows what he's doing. He's extremely confident. He's a little crazy. I'm all in on him because of that. I'd take him one.
No, I love that. I think those are great points, and I think those are real valid points, too, that some football fans won't agree with. But, like, I do think that stuff matters. I think the personality matters. I think he is a character who the guys love to rally around and they love to play for. And in the huddle, when the moments are the biggest and the lights are the brightest, he is not phased. He does not get rattled. He does not get nervous or crash under pressure. He thrives under the pressure. He gets better in the big moments, which you can't say that about every quarterback. Similar to Chambliss. Chambliss has done that all season in the big moments. He has thrived under pressure on the brightest stage. I think Mendoza is going to do the same this week. I think that's why Indiana is going to win this football game. I've got the Hoosiers winning by a touchdown this time. I do think it is a close, lower-scoring game. 4-17, Indiana beats Oregon 24-17. What do you got?
I've got IU 17-13.
There we go. Similar scores, lower scoring. All righty, we both got the Indiana Hoosiers taking down the Oregon Ducks in a close game. Covering the spread, though. Spread is only 3.5 in this one. IU is favored. I do think they cover, but not by a whole lot. I don't think they win by as much as last time, but I do think they get the job done and advance to the championship, where we both have Indiana versus Miami, which we both expected at the beginning of the year. Of course, we both thought it would be Indiana and Miami in the college football national championship.
Yeah, don't listen to me. I think I had Penn State, Clemson, or something stupid.
Penn State, Texas, right here. Penn State, Texas.
That's why we love college football.
Well, I love that we got the Penn State, Clemson national championship bowl game. We had the Pinstripe Bowl between them, and I was right. Penn State won, so there we go.
On a baseball field.
There we go. Yeah. Just to recap, I've got Miami winning 30-27, and I've got Indiana winning 24-17, and Eric has the two same winners, both Indiana and Miami. So Now we are going to get into everybody's favorite subject, the Cincinnati Bearcats, and what they're up to this offseason. First, Eric, let's just recap the season. Just talk about what how you felt early on, and then how you feel now, knowing how it all ended, and then kind of what we're looking forward to before we dive into the specific transfer portal guys.
Yeah, for me specifically, this has been a interesting season because I was pretty optimistic before the season, which was contrarian in Cincinnati Bearcats, like in that niche is most people were down, like expecting 4, 5, 6, 7 wins. Obviously we ended up with 7, but I think I picked 8 or 9 to start the season because I really liked the retention. I was high on Sorsby. I believed in our O-line more than most. Over the summer, a talking point was kind of our O-line might not be good because we lost guys. And
that was like our biggest strength, I'd argue.
Yeah. And it ended up being our biggest strength. They did great. Joe Conton from South Dakota, they did great with that pickup at left tackle.
Gerhardt.
Evan Tingstall got better. Gerhardt is just the ultimate leader.
He's an NFL lineman
gonna
for
miss
sure.
him. Yeah, I don't know where he's going to go or when he'll get drafted or if he gets drafted, but I believe in that guy. He's that leadership. Everything I've ever heard about him is just amazing, and I think that's important when you're a center.
That was me with Kandra last year. I could not believe Luke Kandra did not get drafted, and I still believe he'll find his way in the league.
Yeah, yeah. It's those guys will emerge later. Sometimes it takes a little, but yeah, Gerhardt's the same way. And Kandra leaving is why people were down on the O-line, because it's like, how are we going to replace this guy? And they did a good job. The season started out great, but then the collapse down the stretch, I can't even brag about being right that this team was going to be better, because they were better, but they didn't prove it all the way, if that makes sense. And I know the schedule was a little harder and all that, but you got to win one of those games down the stretch, I think, to kind of sell what you're doing in Cincinnati. Scott Satterfield started here with 3 wins, went to 5, now got 7. So
improvement
on paper,
every year.
You're seeing improvement, and the coaches will say that, the athletic director will say that.
Imagine year
and
7.
Fans just don't care.
Imagine how many
that's
games
15
he
wins, right?
7. That's national champions right there.
So we just got to wait it out.
Yeah.
So it's just a weird purgatory we're in as Cincinnati fans, because on paper it's gotten better every year, and they're going to sell it to us like that, and there's just no buzz, no excitement. This was supposed to be the year where it peaked. You can tell the players believe that. You can tell the front office believes that, because some of them have left. Get out while you can type scenario possibly. I'm not ready to write off Scott Satterfield or the team next year yet, but it does seem like we're in some sort of area of in that cooked territory. The good news for Cincinnati, real quick before you add your thoughts, is the Big 12 has a lot of teams right now in that cooked territory. With this portal has been bad this year. Last year was great. We kept our quarterbacks in conference. It looked like this is going to be a great year. It was a good year. There's some good teams. Didn't get 2 teams in, but we're looking at Baylor, Kansas, UCF, West Virginia, Colorado, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, Kansas State, Iowa State, Arizona State, and maybe TCU. Those are my teams like in that potentially cooked tier. And because they're losing quarterbacks,
TCU
they're losing
just
coaches.
Lost Hoover.
They lost Hoover. Sawyer Robertson's gone. Some of those teams have year 2 coaches. Some of them have year 1 coaches. Iowa State currently has 15 players on their team.
I've seen that.
Some of those teams are going to emerge, right? Who's it going to be? It might be us. But some of those teams, 2 of those teams are going to be good, is how I look at it. So how do you become one of them?
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Like you said, I'm not completely out on Satterfield either. I want to give the guy a chance. I want to keep it going and see what we can get to. But it's obviously not great when you lose. You finish back-to-back seasons on plus 4 game losing streaks. Going back, this year was what, 5 game losing streak, right? Yeah, because we Started 7-1, and
Count
I
Navy.
was still holding out hope after the Utah loss. To be honest, I lost hope this year in the Arizona game. That was the game that lost my hope because I thought we were going to win that game going into it. I thought we had them. I'm a big Fafita guy, big Fafita believer, but I thought we had enough on offense to keep up with them and beat them, and we just had nothing. That was the game where it all crashed and burned for me because even a week after Utah on game day, like, I was okay with that because I thought Utah was going to do that to us. So, like, it was kind of like, we still got a chance. We just have to win out, and then we're in the Big 12 title versus Texas Tech. And then, obviously, we knew what happened. You know, you lose 4 straight, and then you lose a meaningless bowl game in a blowout fashion. So 15 wins in 3 years is just not good enough any way you put it. Simply put, that's not good enough. Like you just said, you can win 15 games in one season now, so in college football. So, like, 15 wins in 3 years is not good enough. So Satterfield's got to keep going. You know, you got to build it up. But I'm worried about it feels like you said, the cooked phase, we're entering that. Like, what does the best case scenario really look like where Satterfield keeps his job after next season? Like, that's my fear is, like, what does it really look like on the other side? Like, if we do get to the promised land, the quote unquote promised land, you know, because, like, at the end of the day, which I don't love that college football has turned into this, making the playoffs is all that's going to matter to teams and fans alone. All that they're going to want to do is make the playoffs. A radio show I was listening to the other day said something interesting, which I thought, going 9-3 used to be an accomplishment, right? You used to be proud of your team for going 9-3 if you're a Power 4 school. Now, if you go 9-3 and miss the playoffs, you're mad. You're upset about your season, right? Because you didn't get to the ultimate goal. You didn't put yourself in a spot to win the national championships. It's hard to, like, judge based on, like, what the expectations are because the expectations change so much. But, like, I want to build a program that has a chance to make the playoffs every single season. That is my goal, kind of like the NCAA tournament in March Madness, which we haven't done that either. The goal is to build a good enough team to possibly win your conference and be in the playoffs, whether that's 10-2, whether that's 9-3, whether that's 11-1. So it's disappointing that it feels like we've settled for lower expectations of being like 7-5, and they're gonna pimp that out and sell that to the fan base. And it's like that's a bummer that we've gotten to that. So, like, I graduated after the year before we made the playoffs in 2020. So, like, we became obviously turned into the 4th best school that season, and, like, that was awesome. The run we went on, and I thought we were just going to keep that season and Fickle and keep building that dynasty. And to see what the program's gotten, not even 5 years later, it's just crazy to me. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's the transition has not been smooth. Is the best way to put it. I still don't think we're in hell. Like, I think this is a purgatory, a growing pains type thing. I mean, there is a scenario that we're one of the worst Power 4 programs. That's possible. I just think we have some natural advantages that, Boston College, the teams like that are always going to be there.
If you can't beat those
that we are
teams,
above
then
that tier,
that's really
right?
sad. Yeah.
And I shouldn't bring them up because we play them next year. So if we lose that game, it's going to look funny.
We're going to be on a quote graphic now. Bill O'Brien's coming for it all.
We have a ton of grads. It's still a growing small
Don't
program.
we play
We're
Nebraska
second
too next
in
year?
the state. No, that's a couple more years.
Okay, I
Next
thought it
year
was
it's just
a
Boston
back-to-back
College,
year.
and
I was going to say that's a good non-con. If that's our 2 non-cons, that's like a hard non-con.
Yeah, we should go 3-0. It's just Boston College and then 2 Miami, Ohio at PBS, and then.
Hey, I don't know, man. The last time we played them, the last time we got Miami at home, we lost the bell. Right, that was depressing.
And
that
then
was
PBS was kind of close too. The last time we played them at Paul Brown.
Yeah, I do. Yep. Yeah.
All
right,
no,
let's get into the
Sat can't afford to lose that game.
Yeah, no, can't have that. All right, let's get into the transfer portal now. we obviously know we just lost Sorsby. Obviously, that was our prized possession, Brendan Sorsby. We just lost Pryor. I saw Evan Pryor committed to Florida. Caleb Goody, Sanks, Micah Coleman, guys like that. So give me some good news now, Eric. Give us some good news about who are we adding? Who are we potentially gaining?
I thought we were starting with the bad news.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah, so
we'll stay on the bad news, then we'll finish with the good news. We'll get out of here on a good note.
the bad news is all those players you just named transferred up. They're going to better teams. We had talented players this year, and we did not capitalize. This should have been the year where it all peaked, but it wasn't. Brendan Sorsby is heading to Texas Tech. He will play at Nippert Stadium next year. That'll be a fun one.
Could he be the missing piece for their title contention? He could be the.
I'm a Sorsby guy. I know I've seen a lot of UC fans change their tune or get louder about their tune that they had before. That they're a little skeptical of Sorsby. I see a little stuff to be skeptical about. Obviously, you can look at small things, but I'm going back to my soft factors thing. I just think this guy's a dog.
Yeah.
He's a leader. His teammates respect him. He's dual threat. I think he's everything you want in a college football quarterback right now. And heading back home to Texas, going to have a ton of talent around him. I think Brendan Sorsby will be a top 3 Heisman preseason is my guess.
You're probably right, especially they'll probably be a top 5 team coming into the season next year, Texas Tech, or at least probably top 10. But, no, I'm with you on that. Quick note on Sorsby. I love the guy. I've said it many times. I liked the guy last season and before he kind of made a big name for himself. And I thought he was the only good player we had a season ago and was really making something out of nothing with the receiving core in 2024. And so coming into the offseason, I was like, if we can bring back him, I'm all in. And then he announced last year, obviously we retained him, and I never thought he would be a Heisman contender this season. So, that's kind of where it's oh, my God, I can't believe how good he really got. So now it's one of those moments where, is he worth $5 million? I don't know about that. I think he's really, really good, and I'm going to root for the guy for forever unless he's playing Cincinnati next year in Nippert, of course. I just think that's a lot of money to give him, man, and I don't know if, before the season, I was higher on Sorsby than the common folk, and now it's now I'm, almost doubting him, but not really. I still think he's amazing. I just am is he really that good? He dragged us to 7 wins only. And I'm not blaming him. He was not the reason we lost any of those games. But I'm just saying your best season of Brendan Sorsby could only get us 7 wins. Is that really winning Texas Tech a national championship? And I don't want to make this just a Sorsby segment. What are your thoughts on that, I guess?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be pretty sad if he cooks there. And, we always look back at this 7-6 season. So that I do think that's going to happen. Where we're well, how do we not win more than 7 games? And we talked about how big pick sixes are earlier. He threw an interception first play of the game against Arizona that was just bizarre. And gave Arizona a short field. They scored a touchdown. We lost that game by 6. And Arizona really – they deserved to beat us. But that play is what started everything, in my opinion. We actually – throughout the season, the recurring theme with Sorsby and the Bearcats was they looked prepared. That first quarter, the second quarter, we were going at teams, getting leads, and then going into half with a lead. And when you throw a pick on the first play of the game, but then dominate
Nebraska,
the rest of the first quarter, which is what happened. Yeah. Even
first
Nebraska.
Game of the season we came out hot. I was let's go.
Yeah, just a bummer. So, good luck to Sorsby. I think he'll kill it there. I'm not going to, say he will win the Heisman, but I think he actually is a genuine contender to win the Heisman next year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's he'll definitely be on the short name of list for sure. All right, let's finish with the good news of who are some players we might be adding. I've heard that the 2 names I've heard are Cole Tabb and MJ Cannon. Tabb, I believe, is a Stanford running back, and Cannon is a corner from Bowling Green, I believe. So tell us about what you know about them, and then if any other big names you're hearing. And we need a quarterback. Eric, we're going to need some guy to throw the ball. So I hope you got some names for me on that front.
That's the scary part right now, is because I know this staff wants to start with quarterback and go from there. You know, like the quarterback is part of their team building, recruiting strategies. You know, that
I wanted Keenholz.
And you have a quarterback to help sell things. It helps, right? So yeah, Keenholz, it's a bummer. He was the top target. Louisville gazumped us. That's a term in Europe they use when you
how
lose
you let
a player.
him do that to you, Scott?
Yeah, it's a bummer. I thought he was an exciting guy. He has the frame to do what Satterfield wants a quarterback to do. That's dual threat, and I thought that could have been a fun fit. So I was bummed out.
Hey, the last Buckeye transfer was Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
So the last Buckeye QB great was to transfer out was Joe Burrow. So yeah, right. So next year Louisville Cardinals are winning the Natty, and there's your Heisman right there, Lincoln Keenholz. So
and then we'll draft him after we traded Burrow. After the Bengals.
I could see that. All right, this is supposed to be the good news segment.
MJ Cannon, Bowling Green corner. He is actually switching to safety. He's 6'3", 200. He is not going to play corner at Cincinnati unless things change in the spring. But the plan is to switch him to safety.
Pretty big for a safety,
so
too.
Big, and it's his final year. That's a big decision to make in your final year of college football. So hopefully they found something there, and they think that's better for his future going forward if he thinks he can make the league. He's certainly got the body to do it. But we currently have 0 cornerbacks that are upperclassmen. So that's definitely a place we need to target going forward. But the 2 running backs that we got, Cole Tab, you mentioned from Stanford, had a pretty solid production for an underclassman. It's pretty rare to see in power conferences guys not even getting redshirted and running as freshmen and then upping their production as sophomores. I think he had 400-something yards, 3 touchdowns. And then Jabran Payne is one that's going to bring some buzz in Cincinnati. He's from LaSalle High School. He was a 4-star recruit that we could not land out of high school. Like there wasn't a good connection. He wanted to go to Notre Dame. I don't blame him. But this is similar to like when Corey Kiner came home, except for Kiner, we almost got out of high school. There was more buzz there because of that. So I think Payne could end up being RB1 here. We now have 5 running backs who are going to play. I think the room's done. So bad news, don't have a quarterback. Good news is we're done at running back. It's over. I think we might be done at tight end. So all of our offensive recruiting manpower is on quarterback and wide receiver right now. I'm sure we're Coach Cardwell's looking for 1 or 2 offensive linemen, but the Jabran Payne is an interesting one. He was playing for Notre Dame as a freshman or as a sophomore. He scored against Ohio State. He was a part of their plans, and then he got beat out by Jeremiah Love. Not sure if you've heard of him. Notre Dame
pretty good
has a
backs.
decent 1-2 punch, right? Yeah, they've got some decent running backs there. So to me, it's an opportunity buy, right? Sometimes are the ones that are really good. They just were blocked.
Right.
So I think that's a lot of reason to be excited personally. Just not enough out there for me to really be all in on it. Like, yeah, this guy's going to be amazing. So we'll see pretty quickly next year, I think, what the staff thinks of him. And then defensively, we also added a defensive lineman, Chidera Otutu from UTSA, 6'1", 305. You know where he's going to play. Right down the middle.
That's the Godfather
just an
replacement.
Interesting note.
The Don replacement.
Probably. And interesting note, we don't have a DC right now, and we've landed 2 defensive players. I thought that was kind of cool. It's like, well, hopefully you like whatever system we're going to run, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
don't worry about it.
there will be a bunch of news this week with UC coming up here with commitments and coaches being announced or possibly promoted, and I think we'll know pretty quickly here whether we're cooked or cooked, if that makes sense.
Those are the best places you want to be, between cooked and being cooked as a Cincinnati Bearcats fan. So we're used to it.
Yes.
So, all right, Eric, that's phenomenal stuff, man. I appreciate you coming on here and previewing those games with me and giving the people what they all wanted, a Cincinnati Bearcats transfer portal look.
So they want it bad.
Oh, everyone. Yeah, everyone. Tell us where we can find your stuff at, Eric, and we'll get you out of here.
Yeah, Bearcat Bunch on Twitter, also Chatterbox, Bearcats, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, all the audio podcast areas. My account on Twitter is meant to be very informational. I aggregate anything I can find about UC and also throw in opinions here and there. I try to make it, not a robot aggregator account, but more, I need to fire off some takes every once in a while. So it's, in my bio, you'll also see a newsletter and a website with scholarship sheets, transfer portal trackers. We do it all over here. So it's just a nice way to keep up with UC if you're having trouble keeping up with all the portal constant news in college football. It's a lot right now. So I do think it's a nice tool for people to, be summarized rather than do what I do and look at it all day.
Absolutely, yeah. No, don't be as big of nerds as we are. We'll do it for you and save you the trouble. We'll save you the trouble. Yeah. If you guys are big Cincinnati fans or just Big 12 fans in general, make sure you follow Eric and the Bearcat Bunch account he's got on Twitter. It's a great follow, great newsletter with tons of information to dive in. So appreciate you coming on, Eric. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe below to The Point After with Mitch Kaiser. Looking forward to these Thursday night games, and we'll recap the semifinals next week. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.